I think it's mighty crucial to point out that the title of this video is not of a condescending understanding of film, but one of love of and curiosity of film. I truly believe Megalopolis is all over the place and easily could have been a top 3 favorite amount of the year had it followed the structure of the first third of the movie. Now what the hell is Megalopolis? This question pissed me off because I saw it coming every time I asked someone if they had heard of it. And why? Because I never knew how to describe it. In my own words, Megalopolis is about a man named 𝙎𝙀𝙁𝙀𝙁, this ultra architect of a man who's super ambitious to fill the city of New Rome with futuristic tech and things the Jetsons are made of. He's an extreme visionary who's part of a rich family and makes enemies along the way through his family and the mayor of the city. This movie did fascinate me in a way that compels me to talk about it, but it's been 2 weeks since I've seen it, and it truly is ass that my creativity inspiration for it has fizzled out. Luckily, I wrote the outro immediately and some bullet points. Let's just get into them. I have 4 bullet points, 3 of which are how I viewed the movie. The first being fun, interesting, and futuristic. The first third of this movie was a shoo-in for my favorite movie of the year. It's ridiculously funny, whether it's being ironic or not, has Lawrence Fishburne narrating the story, because it really is called a fable from the beginning, and the utopian aspects are just plain cool, man. Like this whole glowy time stopping shit, I was reeled in. The dialogue in this movie is sometimes meme-esque and hilarious, and I'm all for it. There's this scene with Adam Driver saying go to the club, floating around, where he tells this seemingly socialized showgirl to buzz off.
I work without caring what happens to either of us. So go back to the club.
Fine.
It feels self-aware and not taking itself serious. Here you have this man of status being a goof. That whole scene in general just had me laughing, and it had Adam Driver doing some random stuff amidst conversation. She would talk to him and then he'd be like... They do that about 2 or 3 times, and I think one of the things he did was he just pulled out a stopwatch. Me and this one other person in my row were freaking bursting out laughing at the ridiculousness. First third, amazing. Great hook. What is this time power? Why do some people hate him? Eccentric character. What's the lore with his wife? Bullet point 2, Coliseum party. It was a scene like any other, or so you'd think. Some young lady is auctioning her virginity. She sings a song towards the end of this whole party. Turns out she's not as young as she said she was, but yo, this whole thing goes out of whack. I don't think there was any narration. The whole visionary impression of Caesar is thrown out the window as he's spiraling on drugs, which really gives us some expressionistic cinematography. I don't truthfully know the words that I'm saying, but when Caesar is tripping and he's losing it, it's theatrical, stage-like, a silent film interpretation of what he's feeling. But I feel this shebang goes on for a little too long and it takes away from the narrative. It really is one long-ass party where we learn Shia LaBeouf's character, Claudio, hates his cousin, Caesar. Which is a perfect segue to my 4th bullet, Shia LaBeouf. This man is a complete standout in Megalopolis, and I freaking mean that. His inclusion really separates the concept of New Rome from being just another interpretation of New York. He's a colorful Shakespearean character, wearing the glam and the makeup and the dresses, partying up his rich background. A jester, I might say, but as always, has the serious, I'm going to tear down my cousin's life within him. So the Coliseum party is a pretty thick portion and distracts from what the movie used to be. It's a perfect transition to what I call the third part of the movie, or as my 3rd bullet says, novella, drama, stage play. Caesar falls in love with the same harlot he tells to go to the club at the beginning of the movie, the mayor's daughter. So the plot shifts to his newfound love and Claudio's revenge arc, which, it is a fable. And I love that. I think it's very freaking cool. But I feel like the literal world building of Megalopolis, Caesar's Utopia land, gets pushed aside for the drama. The plot isn't locked in on itself and skedaddles upon a separate path. Spoiler, Caesar gets shot in the head and I, dead ass, gasped. It was incredible. He then gets healed and then his face is half imbued with Megalopolis juice. And bro, it's fascinating. It's really freaking cool. But the novella yanks away. The mayor's trying to bribe him. His ex-mistress married his old-ass uncle and pulled his funds away. Are you following? He loses focus and is unable to stop time. And which I read, stopping time was only a metaphor and it wasn't really happening. And much like how this 2-week afterthought video has been scripted, it could have been much, much better. From sublime storytelling, ironic humor, and a curious architect to Shakespearean family feud, whether it be his own family or his loves. Earlier I mentioned that the world building of Megalopolis is pushed aside for the sake of drama, but we do get a payoff of Megalopolis in the final moments of the movie. Brother, I feel like it's rushed. The payoff doesn't feel complete. Drama this, drama that. Caesar holds an outdoor conference welcoming in the people to Megalopolis in times of turmoil. Gosh, the more I blabber, the more I remember. Run it to the voiceovers. Dude, there was a meteor shower at some point. How crazy is that? People died. Meteors hit Earth. But it didn't feel like it had much impact on anything. What I loved about the first part before we enter the grand party is that we see Caesar at work at his company crafting ideas for Megalopolis. We see his genius at play. This movie would have been my favorite of the year. I told people after I watched it that I don't love it like I thought I would, but I don't dislike it. I gravitate to movies like these, tanks and bombs, because there's always something to them. There's something unique. And while I didn't love Megalopolis, I'm still drawn to it because it's grand. It's a real artsy movie, and if there's one true statement that we can dig from all of this is that you won't find a movie like it again. Come with me. As I share some tidbits of information I found on the internet. Francis Ford Coppola spent $120 million of his own money to create Megalopolis. Some are viewing this as him jacking himself off. I view it as, and he said it himself, no one is going to fund this, so I might as well just do it myself. And even if he is jacking himself off, creating his art, at least he supplied a bunch of jobs. I mean, it's nice to have the means to create something you want. Create because you want to. Bitch. The Megalopolis Twitter page has been a fun source and has shared that some directors enjoyed the movie, such as Guillermo del Toro saying he was swept away by the movie. Spike Jonze, who also found the humor and praised the world's beauty. Which, looking back at these photos, man, I forgot how awesome some scenes looked. The visuals really hit where you could count on them if everything else faltered. And even some of these set pieces with giant statues, I was confused yet fascinated at how and why they were in this world so humanly alive. Like you can see in the video here that they had a model vehicle drive through model buildings, but in the movie obviously it looked like a standard sized vehicle, and you have these big ass giant statues that are also alive, and they sort of collapse. Why are they alive? How? And finally, Steven Soderbergh said it might be one of the craziest things shot on American soil. I think it's worth shining a small light on the fact that some of his classmates, other directors, found their own joy through Megalopolis. They get it. Remember a couple of minutes ago where I said the outro of the video was the only thing I wrote? Well, here it is. I'd like to end on this note. Megalopolis is many things. It's the Hunger Games capital in fashion. It's Baz Luhrmann if his movies didn't have grand, colorful montages and were slower paced. I know Romeo plus Juliet exists, but I haven't seen it, and I just really want to say it's The Great Gatsby in a Shakespearean setting. It's Shakespeare in a hyper-realistic world. Nolan's Batman planted in a modern-day New York replica. It's a classic Hollywood movie if the aspect ratio wasn't 4:3, grainy and black and white. It's grand, ambitious, and deserving of being called a film rather than a movie. Like one of my favorites, Babylon. But much like Babylon, which suffered the same fate in box office and ratings, I wouldn't recommend the average person to watch Megalopolis because you just wouldn't get it. Again, it's not about understanding the movie, but it's about loving film in general. Babylon is a 3-hour movie about old Hollywood. Brother, you are not watching that shit. Be real. I wouldn't recommend a black and white movie to anybody that I know. I personally don't mind consuming all the formats and genres, but the average person does not. No one wants to see it, bro. Can you imagine I have the boys over? I got the guys over. They just came back from driving fast over here. They're blasting their hip hop music, and I put on this.
You to plow through the riches of my Emersonian mind?
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here. The average person is not curious about a movie you can't even describe the plot for and did horrible all around. You can't even recommend Marvel or Star Wars to some people. I can go on and on, but I'm done, okay? Love what you like, my friends. Protect your energy and keep on megalopolising. Dude, how majestic is that score too, man? This movie has some good music, good visuals, and good score, man. 10 out of 10.